Good afternoon, welcome. Welcome to the debate on posting child's image on the internet. Where is the boundary? We are glad that the Prime Minister was able to be with us at noon. I'm glad so many people are with us after the lunch break. The topic is very difficult, but we have quite some time to discuss this topic. I hope we will manage to tackle all issues. We managed to invite wonderful experts to this debate and representatives of our Safer Internet teenage panel. We have two high school students who will comment on things said, verify whether what we say is in concord with the reality, because we're talking about the image of a child that is, they know very well what this world looks like, what can the consequences be, what it looks like on the part of the child. So we have two experts from high school, Maja Olszewska and Hubert Waliszewski. Let's welcome them. And I also want to present other panelists, other experts. Alicja Kost, biology teacher, popularizer of science. She has a blog, Mataya. She wrote a book concerning parenthood, and what distinguishes this blog from others is that there are information based on scientific evidence. So this is very often emphasized in this blog, and it is significant because we all struggle with the situation that there is a lot of information on the internet, and whoever can sell such information is on the winning position. We cannot always verify this knowledge, and here everything on this blog is based on scientific evidence. Then we have Maja Katkowska with us from Latvian Internet Association, coordinator of the Latvian program Safer Internet and educator. I'm glad you are with us. Next we have Paulina Masłowska, lawyer from the foundation Empowering Children Foundation, specialist in family law and criminal law. And our showman, Boris, whom we all know very well from the previous panel, from the previous part. I'm really glad, Boris, that you could join us. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic, child's image. This is, we might say we are talking about data protection, protection of privacy, and protection of privacy itself is a topic that has been with us for not that long, because the regulations appeared in 1981, I think, was the date of the first regulation of the Council of Europe concerning automatic processing of personal data and the resulting consequences for natural persons. Then in 1995 we had the director, in 2016 GDPR, and we are now only becoming familiar with the possibilities resulting from how our data are processed, because the child's image is data. We are talking about data. It's very important to remember about that the consequences are really difficult to handle. And we are talking about a completely new area of the law, field of the law. Of course, we are not going to discuss only legal provisions, but from my own point of view, I can present this topic, but against the background of the law, the civil law in general, that derives from the Roman law, that is 2,500 years old. This is something completely new. We ask ourselves questions. We were talking in the context of GDPR. how is it possible to disappear from the internet? The internet is the place where data should be rendered available, and we shouldn't say what to do with this data because it would be censorship. So this is completely new. But the fact that this is new doesn't mean that this is a popular niche, because it spreads. The child's image is something that everybody shares willingly, because we care about our children. We want to show how great parents we are, good caregivers, and we don't always know what will happen with this image. And the new questions we will be asking ourselves here in this panel are very important for the very reason that we need, and I'm convinced we need some changes, some new approach. And that's why at the beginning of this panel I will want to ask the experts here to form some postulates so that we can say to politicians what the Prime Minister asked us for, so we can say what is missing, what is lacking. And this is what I'm going to ask our panelists for, and what I will ask the audience for. So I think we will take an hour to debate about our opinions about the image, and making available such images, boundaries, ethics. And in the last part, in the last 15 minutes or a bit more, I will ask you to become involved in our discussion, to share your comments, your remarks. And tomorrow, our Sejm will hold a commission for the matters of the youth, and it will deal in this very topic we will be discussing right now, that is presenting the image of a child online.
Tak jak mówiłem, tematyka jest nowa, ale też by mi bardzo zależało na tym, żebyśmy w ogóle...
Yes, I have mentioned the topic is new. Let's think about what we're really talking about. When is making a picture of child available a bad? When should it be regulated? Where does it pose a problem? Is it just sharing? Is it also influencers? Can I ask you, please, to just answer this question? When can publishing a photo of a child become a problem? It is unthinkable of a ban on taking pictures at all, right? It may always become a problem. Any time that we upload something online, we lose control over it. In terms of sharing, well, we think of influencers only, parents sharing pictures, but I always think about parents of children with disabilities, with various diseases or challenges, developmental challenges, because those people are often forced to publishing these pictures to collect money, because we would be more prone to actually contribute to such a charity organization when we see the child. And there's normalization as well. So we should have an ethical approach to it. It's difficult there, but also an area to be debated. Maya, would you like to answer the question from your perspective? When you work in your profession, we are all from different backgrounds. That's really lucky to have this composition of a panel.
Yes, thank you. From my perspective, I think that the problem starts when parents are not aware of the risks and consequences of publishing their child pictures online. Because when we go to parents' evenings in schools, we see, and we start telling about the risks, we see how the faces of parents change at that moment when they realize what are the risks. And I think the biggest risk is that parents put their desire for recognition higher than their child's needs, their child's safety, so somehow they put their own desire higher than the child's privacy. And yeah, we should remember that today's parents grew up in the times when their parents didn't post pictures of them online. So they have no idea what it feels like when someone decides for you what kind of pictures will be online. And someone starts creating your digital footprints before you even could give any consent. So it's a huge difference. We don't know how it feels. And probably it feels really quite helpless for children.
I'm asking our legal advisor, how do you think about that? Is there an implicit consent, or should we look at these basic things? How should we react? Let me start with a basic thing. What is the purpose at all of those pictures? We won't introduce the ban on publishing children's photos, but there are parents who really abuse this opportunity to draw benefits from that. And the child is working, or they improve their own image using the image of the child without even thinking what consequences will be in 5 or 10 years when the child starts using internet and will find their own pictures and would not like to be recognized in a way that is shown there. In formal terms, quite often, even when we think of some institutions that get the parents' consent in terms of GDPR, we don't think about the purpose. They're in public profiles and promote the activity of the institution. So if we photograph important events of children's lives, we may make available those pictures to the parents in closed groups. But if they're made available online in an open access, it's not to actually photograph children in important moments, but to market or advertise the activity of the institution. Also, the extent of photos is excessive. There are too many of those pictures. So please ask yourselves questions. What's the purpose and to whom it serves? Is it to actually document an important moment of child's life to show to children and parents, or is it to promote an activity of a school or of an institution? Can the child be used like that? Those institutions, formally, they usually receive and store and collect and bind those forms with consents. Parents are caregivers that are the ones who can give consent or not, and this is in line with regulations. However, often it's not in line with what children need. So we have also situations where children who are online, they're super happy because they are online. When I was a child, it was an honor to be on TV. Now, everything can be broadcasted. So we can see very happy, super smiley children because they can share some interesting information. And very often, it's really a good situation, sharing information or reciting poems or singing songs. Whereas you have been working with difficult situations, whereas those difficult situations often start with something that is innocent, funny, and joyful. So what do you think is the most frequent problem of sharing children's photos?
Thank you. I'll remember that, showman. Thank you for that comment. I might be a little bit less showman-y about this. I'll agree with the speaker before me. My background is in communications and marketing. And the first question you ask yourself is why are you doing something, and what is the intended purpose, as you said? And the second one is, who is the audience? So why are we sharing the images and pictures and videos of children, and who is the intended audience? Challenges, I mean, it was evident in the last sessions from Niels. We now have AI tools that will create child sexual abuse material from the images of your children. And we have already found databases containing 25,000 pieces of AI-created content of fake children that will now have to invest real time, real police officers' time, to hunt down fake imagery amongst the real imagery and real victims. I think it's time, after what, 18 years of this conference, that we look at ourselves in a mirror as adults and say, why are we doing this? And I love this question. I asked it all over the world. What is the benefit to the child of publishing their image or video online? And I'm really glad we have young people, and I hope you're going to join every conference from now on, ask a million questions. But why are we doing that as parents? Why are we doing that as adults whose principal duty is to protect children and create a better world? What is the benefit? I really am failing to understand. Yes, we love them. Yes, we are proud. Yes, we are sharing it from the best of reasons, but with a significant risk and danger to their safety. So I'm not from any form of legal, but at least to me it seems there's two rights that are conflicting there. Maybe a right for free speech and right for safety and privacy of a child. I will always stand on the side of the safety and privacy of children. How to do it and what are the consequences? Horrible. I'll tell you, awful. And many people sitting here have been listening to this for 18 years and nothing has changed. We just see more of that content. You cannot enter into pedophile spaces without having the images of children first. You cannot buy your way in, you have to have those images. And you know how to find them? Just go on any public social media websites where we publish those images of our children doing gymnastics, of our children swimming in a pool, of our children doing any beautiful thing that we love as parents and teachers, which can be easily flipped and then abused. So if anybody has true benefit in mind of the children, which I should as adults, we should have, should we continue doing this? And I know you asked in the beginning that you have the opportunity to convey some things to the parliament, and I hope you're going to ask questions at the end of this. What is the solution? When, like, the question is, where's the limit? I think we're past the limit. Because we have been saying this, I don't think any expert will disagree, for decades, do not do it. You're endangering the safety, the privacy, you're creating a digital fingerprint for years for a child. And it's not working. So I think we're at a point that we should be asking ourselves whether, I'm not sure that there's like prescriptive laws should be made, but like strict guidances to parents, like just not do that.
Dziękuję. Teraz chciałem zapytać Maję.
I would like to ask Maya and Hubert right now. Can you answer a question that Boris asked? Are there any benefits for children of having their photos published? I mean, children up to 18 years old, not only kids that are not aware of the context. Do you see any benefits of sharing of the images of children? The microphones work. You may speak.
Okay.
I personally think that there may be benefits if the pictures are uploaded in a way that is well thought of and considered. If they're pictures, they're in private profiles. A lot of parents really don't know, because perhaps nobody told them that on Facebook, on Instagram, you might have a private profile and select your audience of your pictures. So they may be your close friends or family, people who really have benefits of looking at the pictures, and they will not be uploaded on a public profile where just anyone can see them. I also think that these pictures should be well selected. Before uploading them, just have a conversation with the child and ask for consent for an opinion. As young people, when we upload the pictures online, because we also do that, so we don't need children pictures to be excluded from the website, from the internet. It then would become more boring. It would be more uglier. Well, yes, it would be uglier and more boring. I guess worse. As teenagers, we build our image when we upload pictures. They are selected, not random. These are pictures where I evaluate, do I like my hair? If I don't, I choose another picture. So I take a series of 10 pictures and then I pick the best one. So the image is really important to us. It is our representation online, and an online era is just like a real world for us. It's part of our world. Our friends see the profiles. Parents, if they get accepted in the profiles, they also see them. We often have one public, one private profile, and we select what pictures we put, well, because we choose our audience. And we know what we upload. We are aware of it. So I think it's really important that parents have a conversation with a child and ask them for opinion. Do you like your own picture? Do you agree that it's online, even if that's only for friends and family? Hubert, in your school, is it the same that people are so selective about what pictures they put online or not? They are. You don't put online a first random picture. We always take a couple of pictures to choose the best one. But also to answer Boris's question, the benefits may be in cases which the first speaker said. For example, children with disabilities. As you said, we often need evidence that the child has problems, for example, with walking or learning. And then the pictures are helpful because, well, people help more often and more willingly. An approach also matters. For instance, the biggest threat is when a child's face is visible. So a sort of solution would be not to show the face or to blur the face of a child before you put the photo online. It's a difficult situation, actually, because technology allows us everything, but it doesn't always work. Let me refer to what Mr. Boris said. I want to be devil's advocate. I don't publish my children's faces online in none of the profiles whatsoever. But there was a question, why do parents keep doing it, although we've been talking about it so much? Maybe we have a wrong kind of conversation with them when maybe we fail to reach them because we keep just repeating the same slogans. It's so easy to take one picture and to have some contents created. 2 or 3 years ago, there was a very loud social campaign by Deutsche Telekom. There was a story of 2 parents that shared photos of their child, and there was consequences afterwards. There was a slogan that one picture is enough for that child to bear some consequences later on. So I think this may be an element that keeps the parents away. Maybe some parents have already uploaded so many pictures that they don't feel like it matters anymore. Or maybe if it's just enough to put one picture, there are pictures of my child, so it doesn't matter that I do it or somebody else. And there was another situation last year near a playground. A person was reported who was walking around and taking pictures of children, and it was a fact. So if we've been telling the same thing for 18 years and it fails to work, we need another way of communication. Thank you. What is your opinion about
W szkołach też jest takie właśnie podejście.
schools? The schools have an attitude of taking care of children images. Are educational tools well prepared? I don't know if my perspective is correct. I consult parents, particularly in difficult moments. So when pictures were taken and they were made public and the parents did not sign a consent. So my perspective is of parents that don't agree for the pictures to be taken and published. When they're faced with vindictive reactions. For example, their children are excluded from some activities. Or if the pictures are taken, the children are stepped aside, they're taken aside and excluded from the photos at all. So it's important to support the parents that want to actually have their rights respected. Support them in the knowing how to do that, because sometimes other parents don't understand their attitude, and if you don't want it, then now you bear the consequences or go to another kindergarten with your child. So on the side of the parents, we know that some parents expect to receive a certain amount of photos during the day. Another difficulty is that standards in legal regulations are written in the following way that children pictures are not included in regulations. So institutions figure out on their own their policies. From the lawmaker's point of view, the decision was made that it is enough to have regulations on the personal data protection. And since the schools and other institutions have their own regulations on data protection, then it's enough, and it's not included in the standards. And also children are not asked for a permission. I participated in many educational events that were for children. And always an assumption is that adults or teacher or caregiver takes pictures without asking children for consent. And sometimes children say, we don't want a photo, or we want to see what we look like in photos. It's important for them to have a sense of comfort, that it's okay for me the way I look there. So I'm happy that you have courage, and young people have courage to say, no, I don't agree, I want to check. And I think it's a matter of educating people and showing children that they have a right to decide about their own image, despite expectations in many places that parents decide about it. But children more often say that they want to be asked for permission. I think it's really important. So before putting children's photos online, definitely show the material to children and then receive agreement and consent. So education is always important. Now my question is, how do we get the big platforms, big businesses and telecoms to introduce some solutions or tools for the parents, for the children, to actually get alerted? We don't have enough alerts right now. Rather, the tendency is to put more and more material online. Punishment is not enough. It's not effective enough. We want to be effective. So what is your opinion, Maya?
Yes, actually, I have a thought about this because, of course, technology, they are not the ones to blame. They are just a platform. So, as Boris told previously, that it is just the people, how they use it. And yes, but still, the big platforms, the technology companies, especially talking about social media, it could be just a very simple solution. Each time their AI programs analyze the photo that is going to be uploaded, posted, they see there is a child, a minor on the picture. The AI tools can recognize that really easy. And then the pop-up window appears and asks to a parent, what is the reason? Why are you posting a picture of your child? Maybe even parents should, tick what is their reason. And then are you aware of the risks? Do you still want to upload this picture? Do you still want to post it? So, and it's actually a very easy solution to do, but well, since social media, they're really willing to expand, and I don't think they're going to do it just from their free will, but yeah.
Boris, you often work with the internet platforms. You're experienced in working with them. Do you think there's hope for change? Because for now, I don't really see it coming. So the tools that Niels showed, he said they're free, simple, and you just click, like it takes 5 seconds, and once you have it, you may really be very skilled at it.
Absolutely. I just want to go off what Maya said. In Japan, when you buy a phone, all of the phones have the sound of the camera on them that you cannot turn off. You know why? Because men took pictures of women underneath their skirts. So they had to find a way to solve it on a technology basis that you have to hear when somebody's taking a picture of you, so you know if a crime is being committed. It's not because the camera app was bad or Apple or Samsung, no, because people, men, were abusing the technology to abuse others. So, as Maya said, we have AI technology that can detect the face of a child. And yes, Maya, it can ask a question and parent can say, for this reason, for that reason, and that image of the child will still be published. But can I ask you something else? What happens when we record children for TV? If we don't have consent of the parents of the child, their image is blurred. But we have media laws decades old. But somehow we have been persuaded that social media is not media. It doesn't fall under the same rules. It has different regulators. It has different laws. We're trying to do that for 15 years. And they have been mostly getting away with it. So why doesn't, for instance, every picture of a child that's being published be blurred? And then if a child, and I absolutely agree, if you want your images online, if you want to join the space, absolutely you should. And you should find safe ways to do that. But I'm sure if I would ask my future children at the age of 13, would you like to drive a car? They would say yes. But we do know that there are some dangers in that we should wait a couple of times before allowing them to do. And if I would ask them what is the best amount of chocolate to have, they would reply all of it, right? But we need to put some frameworks of safety around children. So to come back to your question about technology, no, they're not going to do it by themselves. Yes, we need to pressure them. Yes, we need to give them exact frameworks of regulation, what we do expect from them. And when the world does it, when the UK does it, when Japan and other countries do it, they do abide by it. So I'm sure if your parliament, if your regulators, if NASK and Safer Internet Poland would suggest some technological solutions for better protection of children, I would sincerely hope they would pick them up. I have seen those examples. We work with them on stopping non-consensual intimate image abuse of adults, but as well of children. So they voluntarily, without rules and regulations, pushing them to do that, have realized the need to do that and are helping us to remove that content from around the world. So there are positive examples, but I think we should be, I said it like 7, 8 years ago, yes, supporting parents, educating parents, absolutely, but pushing the industry to do more to protect the ones that we love the most, our children, and give them the basic rights that we give them in our country's media, just that, and that is the right to privacy and protect them. So I'm sure we can do that, whether that's on a European basis, whether that's per country basis, but we just need to push harder and present them the frameworks to do it safer.
Hubert, Ala, czy...
Hubert, Maya, when you use internet, do you even pay attention? Maybe not only you are just like representatives of your peers as well. So do you pay attention to the rules and regulations that are on platforms? Do you even read or just check the boxes and click and take whatever there is? Majority of people whom I know, including myself, we just click on the consent without reading it, which I think is not really wise. One friend of mine always reads them, and if there are cookies to be accepted, he always clicks advanced settings and he does not accept any cookies. The majority of people really don't feel like putting effort in doing it. But there was a situation, it related Disney company. In their rules, it said that you cannot sue them if you accept their application Disney Plus. And it made the fact that a wife of some man died of allergic reaction in one of the restaurants that Disney owned. They tried to avoid the liability. Well, they failed, but you know, there are many more risks that we usually understand, many people understand, so we should not really accept those rules. We should really either force people to read them or convince people to read them. But they need to be readable, actually. Maya, would you expect something from the platforms so that other young people would use the media in a more conscious way and, you know, share their image?
I may say from my experience that, of course, not always we read all regulations. It's true, because they're very long, and when you click read more, we are transferred to a different website where there is small print, even not divided into paragraphs, so how is a person supposed to read it? And teenagers, we may say we don't have patience for such things, or we are simply in a hurry. We want to quickly make an account, create an account. So to create an account, we have to click accept, and we cannot move on to the function read more by doing so. And I think Perhaps if it was really in the form that the most important, because the majority of things are important in these regulations, and there are small sub-points that are very important, but if it was in a form that was more accessible, legible, I'm just making things up at the moment, that it was possible to read it in points, in an abbreviated version, and more detailed version, if somebody wanted to read it, that this such more detailed version should be made available, because Hubert gave a good example of the possible consequences of not reading those policies, but they're long. Not many people want to take time to read them, of course. So let's take another more difficult topic, like in Hitchcock's. At the beginning we said what is bad, what is wrong, and now we can say why. Maybe whether this image of a child shared online. The entire conferences was very close to this topic of consequences resulting from the harm done to a child online. This is what we are talking about. Is it this 100 times shame, as was mentioned yesterday, that somebody that this picture is shared online? Is it about the shame, or is it? Are we talking about issues concerning criminality, organized crime, not just about revenge between peers, but a couple that broke up, or the same thing in children? Is it just humiliation or business, or it's the wrong word, but the mafia that is present online, that abuses a child's image is the most important here? Maya, maybe I can ask you about that, because you're dealing very often with such matters.
Yes, actually, the different risks, starting from being bullied by peers because of the pictures that parents have posted of a child, humiliation, anger, helpless feeling, and but from our work experience, because our organization, we are also running a hotline, and we receive reports about child sexual abuse images being online. And quite recently, I was the one dealing with the reports, and one report was about the pedophile forum, where pedophiles were exchanging the pictures they got from social media that parents have posted. They were downloading those pictures and sharing on pedophile forums. Those pictures were there on the forums, and the pedophiles, they were writing what they would like to do with each of those kids. Mostly those were girls in pre-puberty age. But it's just, this is, of course, the AI tools are being used to abuse the pictures as well, but this is just what I saw in my work. So this is I don't know if parents imagine when they post a picture of their child that actually this picture might be used later in a pedophile forum, exchanged there, and pedophiles are discussing what they would like to do with your child.
Borys, ty właśnie też takimi kwestiami się...
Borys, you also deal often with such issues. You fight with harm done to children. What's your opinion on this topic? How to maintain this balance between crime, unintentionality of acts that causes that the image is used in a wrong way? What are the threats here?
Thank you. I think IWF, numerous times, the biggest rise in child sexual abuse content that we saw in the recent years is self-generated content. It is our children recording themselves and taking pictures of themselves and then sending it to their abusers and groomers by being groomed. So that's one warning sign. The second warning sign is that the age gap of the highest percentage rise is falling, and now it's 7 to 11, mostly young girls, that the rise was like more than 1,000%. But something that genuinely worries me, I've been doing this for a decade. Many people here sitting at the board, maybe in the audience, have been doing this for far, far longer than me. A decade ago, serious crime being committed in the age group 18 to 25, we now see that being committed in the age group 11 to 15. Just a couple of days ago in the United Kingdom, and during the summer, there were riots. I think the youngest person now was 12 that was prosecuted by the Crown Prosecution Service. So the beautiful opportunity of the internet is lowering the age of children committing serious crimes. And then you have a flip coin. We saw a decade ago that scams, kind of social scams and financial scams, were targeting people that didn't have enough education but had the money. Those scams are now targeted at children, because now children today have more money than ever before. I have not been in any school in the UK, and I would say in Poland, just assume that there hasn't been a child in the school who got scammed on Roblox by kind of trying to buy Robux, which is the currency of the game, and lost sometimes hundreds of euros. The decade ago, that wasn't a problem. So now we have criminal organization, and when I say criminal organization, they look like call centers, like this hotel, filled with hundreds of people trying to abuse and target our children online because they're young, inexperienced, because they have access in their phones to money. Maybe your credit card or debit card is connected. They know how to get your money from the credit card, or they have their own accounts. They can go on TikTok and earn money. They can create accounts online and earn money for real. And then getting scammed out of their money and not telling that to their parents because they would get in trouble. Because we still somehow say to them, if you misbehave, I will take your devices away, right? And so children do not share with us. That's why I use the notion of the bridge, that we need to have a non-judgmental, non-victim blaming conversation with them. So in general, what I would tell you, what worries me significantly, that the age of committing serious criminal offenses is just getting lower and lower and lower, and younger children are committing more serious crimes without properly, first of all, having a frontal lobe developed to understand the consequences. But secondly, because of the invent and adaptations of the internet, that they can do it so easily, and writing comments and downloading things and buying things online, it has become absolutely available. So that worries me significantly, because now, let's say in the UK, I think the age of criminal responsibility is 10. I don't know how much is it in Poland. But to that age, we need to start talking about and explaining their responsibility, because they might end up in prison because they said something online. 13, is it 13? I don't know, somebody show me that. So if it's 13, we need to talk to 13-year-olds to explain to them that, do we do that? Maybe, I'm not saying not, but that's what worries me. And that age gap is falling lower and lower, and criminals are staying a step ahead of us, understanding that, and then targeting children with special needs, then targeting children with autism, then targeting elderly people who don't have the knowledge, and abusing the gaps that we have unfortunately left in the lack of education, support, and awareness, and abusing the ones that should be protected the most. That's what worries me.
Dziękuję. Chciałem zapytać tak naprawdę...
Thank you very much. I wanted to ask all of you that, do you think there is a chance, we'll have to ask this question in the topic, where is the boundary? Is it the age? Is it the consent? Maybe the consent for posting the image is enough? Should there be any media available where this image can be shown, whether publicly or not? Whether the images should be properly secured? Can you try and say where the boundary is? I think it's the most difficult question. It will be difficult also to pose those postulates, so more difficult things are ahead of us. Honestly, I don't know. These are very difficult issues. I've recently participated in a conference for influencers about publishing. We also discussed posting images of children, where if a child is 13, is legally allowed to be present in social media, whether he can publish TikTok videos. And someone asked, when can a child have an informed consent? Make an informed consent. And I thought, I answered that perhaps never, because me as an adult entering the public sphere on the internet, nobody is prepared what is going to happen and what we will have to face. So to me, the age is very problematic, because it's hard to say exactly when a child can have the true awareness of what is happening. I don't share images of my children, and my children are at the age where they understand what I do on the internet, what publishing the image is connected with, and I'm really glad that I waited with it and I never posted the images, because one of them doesn't have a problem to be online. He wouldn't have a problem to be present in my media, but the second child absolutely doesn't want to have his images online on social media. So for me, the boundary is the decision of the child, and the question is when this decision is fully conscious, fully informed. So let me enter the age 18. I was 27 when I started working online. So if I were to start again, I would start under a pseudonym, using a pseudonym to protect my family. So it's a big challenge. And we know it with every legal provision. It's difficult it's always to say that it's difficult to establish the boundary, that at this point nobody will have doubts. Then even when we drive sometimes and we see that there's nobody on the way, we sometimes look on our phone and we say, okay, nothing happened, so it's fine. But you cannot allow this, and the boundaries need to be specified clearly so that people know how to behave. I understand it fully, but I don't feel competent to give you the set boundary. So a simple question, but impossible answer. I think this is the point, the situation here. So even if a question is simple, the answer can be very complicated. Maya, can you answer this question? To set some boundaries.
The most difficult questions here on the list what we have, but I can think of just probably one boundary that might work. That until the age of, I don't know, 7 or something of a child, when he's not able to give consent, you just don't post those pictures of your child when he's, I don't know, 2 months old or 3 years old. Unless your child is able to give consent, until the age when your child is able to give consent and he understands what giving consent means, it's just forbidden to post those pictures publicly online. Of course, you can share in some restricted groups with your family members, but yeah, so this probably might work, I don't know.
Sprawdzałem też, przygotowując się do tego panelu, jak wygląda...
When preparing to the panel, I was wondering what the consent to working of children on TV looks like. Here in Poland, it's not very simple to receive such consent. Of course, there must be a consent, but consent is not just even if the beginning of this whole process. You need to have an opinion of psychologist, opinion from school that such a person doesn't have problems with in school. So this portfolio needs to be quite broad. Of course, there needs to be consent of the parents, and the time needs to be specified in the studio. When we're talking about small children, it's very limited time, between 9 and 10:30, between 2 and 4 p.m. because they need to take a nap in the middle of the day. So it's all
It's regulated. Even when we didn't have internet yet, we all heard about children who made it very well on TV, but then they were not able to find themselves in the real life because of their popularity. Why? Maybe because they were so popular when they were in school age. Maya, what do you think? Can we set these boundaries? So to propose a boundary of age limit for influencers, well, I looked at Alicia's profile, and I saw that there are no pictures of your children, and I saw one single picture, but the face was covered with an emoji. I think it's a really good approach. Influencers' profile about parenting, for instance, not necessarily, may be valuable and really helpful without using the image of a child, of the parent, the person who has this profile. Well, my mom got interested and started watching the posts. What about other influencers who have their business? They have a reputation already, their brand, according to what they post and what they represent. If they decide to have a family and would like to post pictures of the children later on and to have a child implemented in this business world, I think it may not be a good idea, because the children, they may wish to choose another future than being an influencer, choose another profession. If their pictures are posted from the start, the opinion that people have of a parent, the reputation always stays, and it will be transferred onto children. Those videos are always somewhere, and the child is without a choice. It's left without a choice. So I'll add a word about children influencers. There are young people who have talents, and they want to share their talents online, because online space can be a good place to also share your ideas and inspire others. Definitely, we know that some people who would like to have these profiles are minors. They cannot have their own profiles. So if you decide to have a profile and want to inspire others, please have some support. It may have a support of parents to also control what you're putting online, but also co-create the account with the parent. It will be good for the parent and child relationship, but there will be also more certainty of the contents. We know there are many risks. Cyberbullying, that we discussed a lot. So a young influencer may really be faced with cyberbullying, and without support, they may be too vulnerable and not able to resist pressure from peers, mainly, but not only. Other people who will see the profile, because, you know, if you have a public profile, if you take a decision to be a part of influencers, you really need support and somebody to control what you're posting, because it all stays. People see it. Young people go to school, so people from school see it. Not all young people are aware of the fact that whatever you post online stays there forever, and it will really influence your life. So just be aware and have support. Thank you very much. I think it's impossible to really fix the world with a snap of fingers, but let's start with professionals. Let's put requirements on them. Let's be specific. So if someone is a professional influencer, so although they often say it's a hobby, but the hobby just takes them 15 hours a day or 10 hours a day. It's not a hobby anymore. But if you're showing products, if you're marketing some products, or a product actually can be an everyday life of a family, their breakfasts, their trips, and it's not a hobby anymore. This is like professional work because there's popularity, the reach, it's fully monetized. So allow me to, in the first step, really deal with professionals. We can reverse it, I think. So let's reverse the discussion. I don't see a way to actually ban publishing images of children, of influencers. There are so many profiles. I don't imagine how to really control that. Maybe the responsibility would be on the business, on the service providers. Influencers make money on advertisements. So, as you said, there's supervision of what children do on the TV set, and there are strict requirements. So if there are proposals of advertisements, for 11 years that I had proposals of advertising a product, the offers included having also my children in the photos. This year it was the first time when I had a proposal of advertising a product saying explicitly that they don't want a face of a child, because that's the nature of their campaign. So a proposal of regulation might be, if children's faces are supposed to be published, then more responsibilities are on the side of the business, the platform providers. Hubert, do you imagine, or do you have any guidelines or ideas of recommendations, or what would we say to you, people your age? How to behave in a reasonable way? Quite opposite to what Maya said, I think the age limit should be infancy. I think they're the best films and pictures. Secondly, you cannot recognize a child face at the beginning because there are no characteristic features of the face. I don't quite understand this discussion. If you ask for consent, then, child cannot be aware of what they consent to. They're not aware of the risks. A parent asks a child, "Can I post this picture?" A child will say yes, because the parent knows better. So that's a part of a wider discussion about, well, giving access to that whole world to children too soon, too early, without educating them on real threats that are there. So I think definitely the limit should be, I think, up to 3 years of age, because up to that age, people are unrecognizable. So if people get older, those infancy pictures will not be attributed to those persons. And the parents will get children consents either way or another, because children think they are right. So, what is your opinion? Well, I won't give you an age limit, I think. The only one that we agreed to, I think, is that we don't use the children photos for pornography, and this is a constant rule everyone agrees with. Here, this is a criminal aspect. Yes, but more broadly speaking, the law stipulates various age limits for various activities. 16 years old, 13-year-old, 10-year-old. When we go through legal acts, we see children in various situations, and we're asking questions why this or that. And what if a child is 1 day before or 1 year after the 17th birthday, let's say? So we need to have clear cut-off points and age limits. Now, in terms of the photos of image, the limits will not solve the problem. I do not think that we would move forward thanks to age limits. And Maya said about the 7 years of age limit. It's interesting. I would consider looking at those younger children. But if a child is 8 years old, will they be able to give a consent or not? So I would rather go for looking at the purpose. We may limit the purposes. For example, to use the image of a child for commercial purposes. Why is it different on TV set and on the influencer's home? So that's what I would focus on. The goals, the purposes. Which purpose can be threatening, harmful? That's my line of thinking rather than the age limits. Okay, setting a goal is really good, I think, because that would gain understanding. Why do we do that? If we answer the question, then the behavior might be more reasonable. Boris, I think you can define the age limit, but can you tell us, please, where would you put it?
We're going to find ways to go around it. There's going to be ways to bypass it. But we need to do something. We need to give some guidance. And you can, I'm trying to, so sorry, first of all, I wasn't fully prepared for this, so I'm pulling out things out of my imagination. 100 years ago, 50, 60 years ago, when we drove the first cars, and cars couldn't go more than 15 miles an hour, 15 kilometers an hour, we didn't have the signs, we didn't have the rules, we didn't have the regulations, right? As cars sped up and more people started killing other people, we figured out we need some rules and regulations, we need to limit it. But today you have cars that can go 300, 400 kilometers an hour, but we agreed for all of our safety and the safety of me next to your car who can go 300, that the limit is 60, 50, 70, 90, whatever. So there must be some rules and regulations and frameworks we can put in place. But there's the challenge. And I have asked this for all legal people around the world. And correct me if I'm wrong, one is sitting next to me. We are trying to implement frigid or rigid framework on a liquid environment. As soon as we write a law, it's already outdated. As soon as we write one guidance, it's already outdated. So I don't think the solution is a rigid framework. There has to be something more. So one of the ideas I was listening to all of you all had great ideas. It can be age, it can be, what about competency? Like is even the child even competent to give consent, or one part of the consent that we haven't discussed, can I take it back? If I give you consent today to take my pictures, but tomorrow I kind of change my mind, how can I take it back? If it's on TV, if we're going to compare it with media, it was shown once on TV. You had to record it on the cassette tape. And then you had to give that cassette tape to others. You couldn't give it to 4.4 billion people, which is what you can do to now, with the media house in your phone. So the rules have changed. The space have changed so significantly, and we have not put any proper rules and regulations in place to kind of give us that framework. I don't think we have a solution. I think all of us need to sit together and figure it out for your community, for your laws, for your country. What would that be? My crazy idea, and you might disagree, if you want to publish an image of a child, you have to do it on 56K connection from 1990. You have to sit there for 15 minutes. You cannot do anything else with your phone. And for 15 minutes, you're shown awareness videos, all of the potential dangers that can happen. And after 15 minutes, and really slow, do you remember that? Nobody could, if somebody calls you, it stops. If somebody sends you a message, it stops. I mean, it might be ridiculous. What I'm saying is, between here and there must be some good ideas. And maybe Poland could be the first country to do it properly. Who knows? Because none of us can solve this alone. But what happened when you travel to Croatia on the seaside, you want to publish images. But what I can assure you, that you should never publish, and as well criminal activity, intimate or naked images of children, child sexual abuse material, images of your children in their bathing suits, absolutely not. And do not allow your children to be naked on beaches. The time of that has gone, like, long gone. We had that childhood, they don't. So the problem is, we need to learn ourselves first. How can we better protect our children? Because we are failing them right now. And we have these beautiful two young people next to us, giving us advice how we should protect them. Can you imagine that 30 years ago? Somebody asked you for your opinion? No. So let's give more voices to them, because whatever they said we do need a limit, if I understood you correctly. And what is the limit? Let's agree together. But I think we need to start doing something, so good luck tomorrow. And I hope and I fully support you to do that, and make it slow. Let's see how many parents have the patience to do that. Maybe we would change, because what we need to change is not the laws, is behaviors. And that takes time, sometimes generation, to change. But I'm fully supportive, and whatever these young people think, if we arm them with more information, more data, and they realize the consequences, let's follow their lead and see what happens.
Dziękuję bardzo. Zachowania zawsze trudniej zmienić.
It's always more difficult to change behavior than the law, because this is about culture, and culture changes. There are some, of course, exceptional situations that cause that the society changes quickly, but there aren't many of them, and usually these are exceptions to the rule. We could debate on this topic for a long time, but as I promised at the beginning, I would really want to hear the voices from the audience. You work at schools, at different institutions dealing with safety. Do you have questions to our panelists, or would you like to present your own experiences? Are there any people willing to take the floor here? Can we have the microphone, please? Good afternoon, Beata Braunek. I would like to show my perspective as a mother who tries not to publish the images of her child, because I decided that when that time comes, my children will be able to enter the internet themselves and will not be anesthetized by the fact that they're already there. So I wanted to support the voice regarding the responsibility of business, because often institutions that hold classes for children, in a way, by wanting to promote themselves and to warm up their image, want to gain the consent of the child. These are institutions that conduct workshops in the kindergarten or schools or commercial places, such as playgrounds, playrooms, trampoline, institutions that offer some fun, who have some monitoring, and the monitoring is there to secure children, and sometimes there is annotation that they will be using the recorded materials. So I don't like it that that so many institutions really, because I really take care of the images to make sure that the images of my children aren't published anywhere, but there are many institutions that try to force me to do so. And I want to say that the fact that I don't want pictures of my child on the internet doesn't mean that I want the pictures of my child from some school trips, some outings. So I want to address this to teachers, that they shouldn't be afraid to take pictures, but to disseminate those images through public channels, some groups, parenting groups. Not everything has to be published publicly to warm up the image and promote the school, because I think this can be done differently. And I also wouldn't like children to be afraid to post themselves with children. because this is also an educational element. So this is the voice I wanted you to hear. We wanted to show this perspective that on the one hand, business and education. I really liked what was said. Because when I see the fan page of the school, and there are too many pictures of children, this is a signal that the school simply sells the image of children. There could be this good fashion introduced to share images responsibly. We have one more person here on this side of the audience. Aleksander Drzewiecki, Platform for Support and Education of Adolescents, Parenting PL. I wanted to ask you, because we heard that the only legal boundary is the pornographic content, but I would like to ask about such a phenomenon called parental parenting, a very common phenomenon, very popular phenomenon, consisting in the fact that the parents post images that humiliate, ridicule children. I don't know if you are aware, the egg challenge. I think we all know specialists here breaking eggs on a child's head when baking a cake. I'm going to read the description how to do it online. Invite a child for baking a cake together, but place the camera on your smartphone in such a way that both of you will be visible, and press record. And when you start baking, take an egg and break it on the child's head. These videos reached over 2 billion people. I personally did this exercise that I had a fake account as a 13-year-old on TikTok and Snapchat, and I watched these videos. When I started to like troll parenting videos, so I watched more and more of them. I got more of them. So the eggs, breaking of eggs, is the tip of the iceberg, really. There are so many videos of small children that are ridiculed by parents because they mix up words, or the children do some stupid things that are being ridiculed. There are plenty of them. So isn't it violence? Can we put boundary here and say explicitly that this type of things are violence against the child? We have defined psychological violence, but as with learning to drive the car, that as you said, there weren't regulations at some point, but now there are more and more of them, the seat belts, the airbags. Then now the law is in place saying that when you speed above the speed limit, the cars will inform us with a signal that the speed limit has been exceeded. So the question is whether the boundary couldn't be pushed more into the direction that these things could be reported. We have legal tools for such situation, but the problem is that we're not using it because we have provisions concerning parental authority. I know how it sounds, but the definition by the guardianship code, we have the provisions saying that the court interferes when the good of the child is violated. So when the situations like that happens, we have the legal grounds. We don't start from the court taking the child away from the parents, but may start with a workshop, oblige the parent to go to some workshops. And if we look into the definition of violence, domestic violence from the Act, it is very broad, and for sure such behavior would fall within this category. We also have the blue card to conduct such interference activities in relation to the parents. So we do have the tools, but what problems do we have? The first is the reporting. So the court may theoretically work ex officio, so look through profiles, but probably will not recognize the child looking at the IP address. So there would have to be somebody who would recognize the child and report the parents' particulars, and the same goes for the blue card procedure. So the difficulty is that the court, to start proceedings, we have to have the data, the particulars of the child. The second thing, as you noted, is the question whether we have agreed on it, that these behaviors, as you mentioned, will be the threat of the welfare of the child or domestic violence. We do have the legal basis for that, but who observes such a behavior will say, you cannot do this, I have to react and report it. So this is the first barrier. And the third thing, that the knowledge of the people who conduct the procedures, how to approach this problem. But we do have the legal tools, but the difficulties are, as I mentioned them. We have to be more effective, efficient, simply. And this requires a change in our culture to report such situations. It all boils down to education. We haven't said much about it because it was another chapter. How to educate, it will be another chapter. Now we are discussing what is happening, and in the next panels we should discuss how to activate it all. I'm a court curator, specialist with 20 years experience. I've been working with the youth for 20 years. I'm also the head of the Curator Center for children who are in conflict with the law or are in danger of demoralization. Never in 20 years I had no case connected with publicly posting a child's image. Nobody has ever reported something like that. But ever since I've been running this center, of course, I have to abide by different procedures, but all parents usually consent to publishing the child's image online. And because I listen to the children that are under my care. So far, despite the three years of running it, I don't have the website of the center. We don't have the Instagram account, and all the children in the center do not agree to the posting of their images. They don't want to be stigmatized. They don't want their images to be present online. They don't want to be in places that aren't cool, according to them. And they ask me, why do you need that? Because we do take some photos for the Chronicle, but just to look at them within the center. We never post anything because they simply don't want that. That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you for being with us. Even though you don't deal with such matters on your everyday basis, so we can see how this conference, how this type of debates are needed. Can you hear me?
Karolina Gordon. I work at the Center of Education and working with young people in Bydgoszcz. So I work with young people on a daily basis. I want to tell you, as a mother, about publishing the image of children. I have a 5-year-old son. I have never posted his picture online. According to the rule, do not do anything to another person that you would not like to be done to you. I don't do that. I forgot your name. Your name is Maya. Maya and Hubert. You said that we might switch off an option of there are settings for a private group. So I have a private profile on Facebook for my friends. There are no random people who could see my photos. But I have a Facebook, and there's this private profile. I've had this for 14 or 15 years. So there are people that I'm not in touch with for a long time now. And I don't know what's in their heads now. So thank you for what you said, because it made me think about this aspect. And I will make a little research among my friends. Another question. to the legal expert. Most of us, I think, are teachers here or educators. You know that there's a so-called Kamil Act of Law, and this is the act of law that is against violence related to the fact that a child died because of the domestic violence against that child that inspired an act of law. So my question is whether this act of law would not help us to switch the lines of protecting children, would not support us. It will help us react, because the legal framework has been the same for many years. We have the so-called blue charter, blue card. We don't use them sometimes. So we sometimes fail to distinguish between what is already considered domestic violence and what is not yet considered as such. So defining the clear responsibilities, path and distinctions will make it easier. And that's what the Act of Law will help us. What is good as well is that we talk about the safety. So regardless whether the children are in care facilities or in health institutions, institutions that provide services to children, educational, medical, broadly understood, we need to take care of children's well-being. We need to have rules for safe relations. And that fills the gap between what is a crime and what is not, when a prosecutor will not get involved yet, but something is already harmful to a child. So it is better regulated right now. So we have rules of safe relations. I am in favor of regulating, putting standards, having acts of law, and I can see that the number of notifications and legal cases grows. Boris, we wanted to add something.
Definitely. I'm so sorry. Privacy is an illusion. So your private list of friends is not private. Images you have on your phone, you have given permission to Instagram to use those images even though you never uploaded them. They told us, and we believe them, that our data is safe with them. So whenever I hear I have a private list of friends or I'm curating that, so I'm just goosebumps, because it's not true. One of the things that they told us a decade ago, we are not listening to your conversations, right? You're not getting the ads because we're recording you, and then we found out they have people actively listening to our conversation. I mean, you know what I mean? Like those words being used in digital space that we learned in kind of physical space, like this is my private room, or it doesn't apply if we're going to talk about children's images and kind of sharing that. So be careful what you are led to believe and what is the truth behind sharing those images with those circle of friends. Not at all to say that some of their accounts might get hacked. They might get, I can just send them a message and say, I'm you, but I lost access to my account. Can you just screenshot the last 3 posts and send it to me? How many out of 800 of them will do that? So again, the notion of privacy online, I think it's an illusion. So I'm so sorry to say that, not to jump off of the point, but these were all great points as well.
Dziękuję. Proszę Państwa, jesteśmy już po czasie.
Thank you. We have run out of time already. Okay, so one more question. Go ahead. Just briefly, Renata Kazimierczak. I'm a pedagogue and trainer of a project that was done a couple of years ago by Cybernauts Advanced Poland. We trained teachers, we trained parents in terms of image protection. We were trained ourselves. It was a couple of years ago, and we heard that the first legal action against mother as a person who ruined child's image, reputation, was brought to court by a teenager in Vienna. When the girl was 18 years old, she sued her mother for ruining her reputation because the mother published the pictures of this girl when she was minor. My question is about the consequences for relations, for the family relations. Young people are increasingly aware. Well, small children don't know yet, but we really work on having young people more and more aware in terms of their right for privacy and image protection. So my question is, what will happen, or what kind of relations between the parents will be when, well, it may be a bit provocative, when we lead to a situation when children will sue their parents? What about the relations? So my question is, what can we do to avoid these consequences that will lead to destroying relations because the knowledge of law to protection of image, protection of privacy, leading to a situation where people who are close to one another will not be close to one another anymore. I think we will all agree that there is no acceptance of turning a blind eye on the harm of children, because children are harmed. I cannot see the speaker if she's not using a microphone. I cannot translate the comment. It seems to me that the legal regulations do not make it difficult in a family. Whether this legal provision or that, it's not the matter. Forgive me, please, we need to finish. We need to finish quite now. So forgive me for closing the debate. Maybe it's better to not have enough sometimes than have too much. But I am really grateful to our panelists and experts. We will continue the topic. But I also want to thank great audience, the participants. You're not only an audience, you're a part of our panel. And it's wonderful to have so many people on the second day after lunch. I'm proud of it, and I'm happy. So we will continue the topic. Well, we have not answered questions because they cannot be really formulated easily. We need to work these things out. So what I would like to say in the Parliament tomorrow, I think, is mainly that we need research, but also let's take the first step and start with professionals, with the business. We need them to require more. We won't put everything on the shoulders of the parents. Although our panel is really popular, not everybody listened to us. I guess we need parents to be educated, but also take some burden off of the parents' shoulders. Not to force them to follow instructions so much or get educated really in advanced legal regulations. So I think that we'll continue the conversation. Thank you very much. Let's have a round of applause for the audience. And I'm really grateful to the young representatives. Thank you.